You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Benazzi from OptionPit.com, and Henry the Flowmaster Schwartz from Cboe. The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back once again. It is Thursday. Did you miss us? We were off, of course, for the Memorial Day holiday on Monday, but now we're back and raring to go with a little bit of the old OB. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network, your home now for, 19 plus years of options podcast goodness. If you want a little more goodness sprinkled on top and you're already subscribed to the full network and you're saying, man, I need more goodness. Well, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. It sounds weird to call it that, but that's kind of what it is. A lot of great stuff going up there. A lot of great pro Q&As, options oddities, deep dive into the efficacy of following unusual activity and block trading just on Tuesdays. Pro Q&A with our good buddy Dr. Vic's deep research going on there. Giveaways, live streams, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. The occasional Vol Death Match. Only a couple days left in May. Get your name in the hat. Maybe you too can win a copy of Dan's book lumped in with all the other cool stuff you get on the old Pro Trading Crate for the month of May. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more as you learn who's joining us on the old Thursday edition of the old Option Block. First, out to the hinterlands of St. Charles, where we are joined once again by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the show, sir.
Always a pleasure to be here. I missed us on Monday. It just kind of feels, it messes with your equilibrium when you only do the show once a week.
It does throw you off a little bit. You don't really know what day it is anymore when there's no Monday OB. So glad we could be back in your life, Mr. Uncle Mike. And then also joining us, he didn't notice anything because he's not on the Monday show. He is the Flowmaster, a.k.a. Mr. Henry Schwartz, beaming in from the hallowed halls of Cboe East. Mr. Flowmaster, welcome back to the show to you as well, sir.
Well, good to see you, Mark, and happy to be here. And you're right, I did not notice that we didn't have a show on Monday, but I did notice that the market wasn't open on Monday. And I also just checked, and, we haven't been down a single day since the last show we had. So
there we go.
It's that kind of market, and it's definitely exciting times. I put a post on LinkedIn yesterday, and I think I tweeted it out. about SpaceX options, what to expect, and when they're going to launch. So we're kind of getting into that. And of course, I used AI to make the poster because why not? But it's busy out there, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, and we're happy to kick things off with the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading out there. And as the Flowmaster and Uncle Mike alluded to, it is yet another green day. Didn't start out that way. Started out flirting with the red. We are indeed shooting at each other again over there in the straight. Not that that matters. The market has moved past that a long time ago, and now we are firmly in the green. It's like they just took a pause. Their buying arms were tired at the open, and now we are up 0.6% almost in the S&P. So forget about, we just broke through 7,200 not that long ago. Then forget about 7,300, blew through that. Forget about 7,400, blew through that. North of 7,500, threatening at this point 7,600. Why not? This way and beyond, up. What does Buzz Lightyear say? To infinity and beyond. That's what this market is doing right now. NASDAQ up 0.8%. Dow, kind of the lone laggard of the bunch, was red until a few minutes ago. Now up about 0.08% out there. So mostly green on the screen. We'll see if the Dow can stay that way. All that green meaning our old pal VIX Cash listeners feeling a little bit of heat out there, shy of the 16 handle. So we were joking on Friday's vol views if the 15 puts are going to come back into fashion. Given this action in the vol landscape, they could very well become relevant again. 1585 in the cash when we kicked off the show. It puts us down a little over a point, about almost 1.5 points, about 1.4 points from where we were exactly a week ago on the Thursday show. VVIX getting its legs cut out from under it, 86, down about 8 points from where it was this time last week. So a lot to unpack, a whole week's worth of action since the last time we got together. Well, let's go out to Flowmaster land first. Mr. Flowmaster, sir, what's been catching your eye? As you pointed out, yet another strongly green week.
Well, yes, we are definitely in the midst of kind of a bullish run, a pretty healthy amount of speculation. I actually ran, I might have shown this to you in the past. So we talk about put call skew in single stocks, and then we talk about an inversion when the call wing, basically volatilities are higher than the put wing for similar deltas. And we call that an inverted skew. And what that means in kind of simpler English is that the market is pricing in a bigger upside tail than downside. So basically a higher probability of stock going, to the upside than the downside, which is a little bit abnormal because although stocks over the long run, they do kind of grind higher, every once in a while we have kind of a short-term shock to the downside. That's where the put call skew, the typical smirk comes from. And so what I like to track is the number of stocks with an inverted skew configuration over time. And I've done it at the aggregate level. And for example, before COVID, it was kind of in the 10 to 15% of liquid stocks had that kind of an upside skew. During COVID, it got up to 40% of the stocks were pricing in a big up move, or a larger probability of a move to the upside. And that's what we got during COVID, obviously. We're actually, I did a little differently, and Mark, I'll send it to you, tweet it out if you want. I did it on a sector basis. So specifically looking at like tech names, it's actually 55% of the tech names have a high upside skew, upside call wing. It's interesting when you look in different sectors. Energy, we see the same thing, which is pretty interesting. Obviously, the chance of, basically kind of high energy prices, which work out to be positive for stocks, for energy stocks, that's kind of coming into play there. Financials, it's not really hitting the same way. Materials are just as skewed to the upside. So basically, we look at this in two ways. One is it's awfully speculative. It doesn't usually stick around for very long. Sometimes it can kind of indicate an unreasonably bullish speculative environment. But right now, the market just keeps grinding higher. And I made a comment to to Mandy Zhu, my colleague, I said, yeah, this upside skew is getting out of hand. She said, well, what do you expect? The market only goes up. I think she might have been joking slightly, but when we just see this up day after day, and then a few big up moves that we can talk about later, that's what you get out of that. So it's definitely a very, very frothy moment. Whether that's going to end or not, I'm not going to say, but people really need to be aware of it.
She is not wrong. Stocks do only go up. So you sell calls at your peril out there these days. Quickly, Mr. Flowmaster, you mentioned the SpaceX IPO. A lot of people excited. Biggest IPO ever, even though the company, didn't it lose like $5 billion last year? But hey, biggest IPO ever. Why not? What's the deets for the listeners? What can they look forward to on the options front, sir?
Sure. So this really is all kind of pending reality, because right now it's kind of expected to IPO on let me just grab it. I believe June. I'm gonna have to find it now. It's gonna be a little hard. Okay. If anybody wants to go to LinkedIn and look up my name, Henry Schwartz, you will be able to see it. But what we are expecting now, what I'm expecting personally, is the IPO will take place on the night of June 11th. So they'll start trading on June 12th. This is only a few weeks away. And we should see options begin trading June 16th, which is is that the Monday following? And they're not going to be dollar strikes. We're gonna start out with $5 strikes. It's not going to trade in pennies. There's not going to be Monday, Wednesdays. Those are initiatives that take a little bit of time. The exchanges have to file for that. But I think the real question is, this is a big story. It's going to be, well over $1 trillion. It seems like in IPO, and it seems like there's going to be there's going to be a ridiculous amount of coverage for it. So when the options get listed out there, I think we could see. I'm sure we will break records for the first day of an IPO. I know I've looked that up before. I know we've broken a million contracts on a few things. This could be the first day that we get a 2 or 3 million contract first day of trading type of symbol. So maybe that's something we should bet on a prediction market.
Yeah, when's the last time a new symbol blew into the top 10 on its first day of trading, let alone the top 5, maybe even the top spot? It could usurp Tesla. It could even usurp at those kind of volume numbers. It could even usurp Nvidia. So that would be certainly a wild debut. And I know we've gotten it down to around a couple of days is when these options can be listed. It used to be 2 weeks at the soonest. Now a couple of days. This one could even, there's so much demand, Henry, they could be listed a day later.
Well, there's a few regulatory hurdles, but they are doing this accelerated listing criteria. So that's what gets us they should be listed to trade on Tuesday, with the IPO starting trading Friday. That's as close as you're ever going to get it.
There you go, listeners. That 2-day window. Are you excited? Are you down for a little bit of SpaceX options? Are you washing your hands of all this madness? I'm curious. Hit us up. Let us know. But wild stuff coming. If you thought all the options market, all the products are out there and that there's nothing new under the sun, well, you got some new stuff coming, and it should probably be pretty active. At the end of the day, what do you need as an options trader, right? You need some volume, aka liquidity, and you need a little volatility. And it looks like you're going to at least have both of those, so it should be interesting. Uncle Mike, are you giddy as a little schoolboy for the SpaceX IPO? Are you and your cabal going to buy it with both hands? And then what else has been lighting up your tape in this sea of green since last we spoke, sir?
Well, never before in the history of the entire stock market has there ever been a better time to sell than today. And never before have I said this so many times that, quite honestly, it's starting to get kind of exhausting again.
At least you had a week off, so that helped.
That's true. So it's a new all-time high. But yeah, I'm going to be watching the SpaceX options. I think it's going to be interesting to see a little bit of how they react to it. And it's going to we're going to have a lot of content for the show from SpaceX options, just because if we're getting them from Tesla like we have, and remember all the time that we spent talking about the Tesla $5 puts or whatever that was, all that time.
The Flowmaster built the whole scan just for us because we were so into the Tesla downside. All that's going the way of the dodo now, Mr. Flowmaster. Sad stuff. But yes, it was a hot time, Mr. Uncle Mike.
It was, and I could see SpaceX having I don't know if we'll necessarily be looking at the disaster puts like that, but there's got to be something happening with SpaceX. Elon Musk doesn't do things quietly, so excited to see it. I think it's going to be fun to watch. Don't know if I will be owning any of it or having any clients in it as of yet, but nonetheless, it is always fun to look at things like that. So in terms of this market, it's always fun to look at markets like this, especially when we're 7 points off the all-time high that we made when the show was starting. That's always fun to look at as well. Markets are up again today. So this weekend we were talking about how we were really close to a deal, but now we don't have a deal. And but there's some key points that are left off the table. I guess maybe we need to get Howie Mandel to just go over there and just say, hey, Iran, Trump, deal or no deal? That's what we need to do right now at this stage, maybe. I don't know. Or something along those lines. But whatever the case may be, the market seems to like what's happening. We're up almost 40 points on the day. So that's something that is good for us bulls out there. In terms of bonds are up slightly today. So we're not really getting a ton of movement there. We're getting a little bit of movement in the shiny stuff with both gold and silver being up roughly 1.5%. So we're getting a little bit of moves today. I can't say this is a world beater day, but just looking at some of our stocks in our triple income portfolio, Qualcomm is one that continues to fascinate me. That's the one where we cut the fat hog in the butt when it was at 138, and we got $6 for the 138 call a couple months ago, and we were excited to get that. Roughly a 5% return in 1 month. We were happy with that, and then Qualcomm proceeds to go up to 200. We chased it. We're fine doing that. We managed our risk. Sometimes we do things like that. We try and look at the portfolio as a whole instead of trying to be perfectionist traders, to where it's like, oh, I missed it. I need to wait for it to come back. But we got into it this month again. Cut another fat hog in the butt with the 197 half calls. We got, I believe, $17 for those, and Qualcomm's up at 248 right now. So it's definitely been a mover, that's for sure. And what's ironic about this whole thing is that with all the premium that we've been getting over the months, in another month or two, we will have caught up to all the moves that it's had if it continues to have this much premium. Maybe 3 or 4 months now with it up at 248 today. But the premium has matched the move, that is for sure. So that's one of the big things that I'm looking at today. But for the time being, we're just sitting on it, letting it get called away, and then seeing where we can go with it. So for the most part, there's no real world beaters out there, if you will, today, or nothing too major coming across my tape besides what I had just mentioned. And, I guess we got to talk about Palantir, because now Mark likes me talking about my massive Palantir holdings. So we do have a 5% move in Palantir today. A lot of collar exposure to Palantir. So we'll see where that goes. And back to you, Mark.
You are the registered owner of, I believe, 35% of Palantir, are you not? So you are legally obligated to discuss such things on the show. So people wait for your Palantir insights out there. Listen, let's see what kind of insights we could find in the rest of the market out there, shall we, listeners? Is it a spicy day from a volume perspective in the world of options? You know, the answer is actually, yeah, things are looking a little bit active. You might be forgiven for thinking, oh, well, it's just yet another green day. The market's kind of used to this, going to be a snooze fest post-Memorial Day. Summer has officially started. Nobody's doing anything. And yet, we're seeing some flow. VIX already over 500,000 contracts. That wouldn't be that impressive a month ago when we were averaging 1 million contracts a day. Now that we're hanging out around 700,000 contracts a day, 535 by this part of the show seems pretty active. If you're wondering what's lighting it up out there in VIX today, it's the July 35s. Nearly 41,000 of those bad boys going up for about 70 cents. So if you like those, if you like nibbling on 35s, before you do that, by the way, if you are going to nibble on the 35s, just go listen to Vol Views. And we talked recently about how infrequently we have even broken the 20 handle over the past few months in VIX land. Before you go loading up on some 35s. Number 2, 35,000 of going the other way, the June 17 puts. If you're wondering, those bad boys, 55 cents. So if you sold those, you still couldn't buy the July 35s. Number 3, 23,000 of the July 25. So maybe we've got some 25, 35 vertical action out there. If you're wondering, those are obviously much more expensive. In fact, pretty much 2x, $1.41 for those bad boys. Number 4, 21,000 of the June 40s. Number 5, 20,000 of the June 16 puts. Getting perilously close to the 15s. If you're wondering, those bad boys, 18 cents right now. SPY looking pretty active as well, 6.35 million. That looks even more impressive when you see the ADV has come down to about 10.4 million. The S looking pretty active as well, 2.75 million. That wouldn't be as hot. Again, not that long ago, we were well north of 5 million, now down to about 4.85 million. So obviously well north of halfway to that ADV. If you're wondering, what is the hot option in the S today? Right now, it's 84,000. You know it's expiring today. The question is what option, and it's the 75.70 calls. As we did these were about $10 out of the money. Looks like pretty close to it. Trading for about 280. So there you go, listeners. There's your hot option out there in the S right now. That, of course, could change on a dime. Speaking of hot options out there, small caps have been kind of the hot option. Kicked off the year pretty aggressive, kind of led the dark side for a while there, and now back up strong. Up, I think we're just talking about it on our future show this week, 6%, somewhere in that ballpark just this past week in small caps. Absolutely wild stuff. IWM 1.15 million contracts on the tape today. The ADV 1.7 million. So looking pretty spicy out there. If you're wondering, the hot option in small caps, again, small caps are kind of fascinating because they go back and forth. Some days it's like the S and the Qs where it's all 0-day calls. Other times it's farther out of the money, farther down the chain puts. And that's the case today. It's the June 274 puts. These are not quite 20, about 18 handles out of the money when we ran this, going up for about $1.60, another opening trade. So out of the money puts going out about a month and change seems to be a very common trade out there. If you've been buying those for the last few months, you've been giving up some money to the market gods. And the Qs, are the Qs lighting it up? The answer is actually kind of no. Qs are kind of the one bit of a sluggish name. 3.86 million. We haven't seen the Qs with a 3 million handle in a while. The ADV is 6.3 million. We've often seen the Qs 4.5, even 5 million, if not more, this portion of the show. So not quite there, but still over halfway to their ADV. So looking like they could probably hit that new lower level by the end of the show. Out to single names we go. Is it a banger day on the single name option front? The answer is yes. This would also be a great time if Twitter polls still work to ask you, are you planning to trade the SpaceX options when they go public pretty soon? And where do you think they'll land in the top 10? I'll tell you what, right now, if we looked at this top 10, if this was your full day's worth of volume and SpaceX did the numbers that the Flowmaster is talking about, it would definitely be at the top of the list right now. But you know what? It's still an impressive half of a day here. 459,000 contracts. That's what it cost you to break into the top 10 today. That is a certified banger by our math. The 450 is definitely a banger. And that gets you to AMD rallying another $23.30. You might think people like Mandy are joking when they say the market only goes up. Look at names like AMD. I mean, 5% again today. 520 pretty much exactly right now. Again, coming in at number 10, 459 on the tape. Number 9, another A tech name. Apple, all the way down at number 9 today. Kind of a wild one. Apple kind of unched, hanging out right or a little bit shy of 311. They hit a new all-time high recently of 313.25. Not today. I think that might have been yesterday. Coming back off that a little bit right now. But Apple, number 9, pretty much exactly 500,000 contracts for the fruit company. Number 8, Meta. This one's been all over the place this week. They had big layoffs. Now they're announcing new revenue streams with these. You can pay more to use Facebook and WhatsApp. Just what everybody wanted. Paying more to use these platforms. Market taking it to them a little bit today, off 3.75. Still well north of the par strike, 631.5. They were threatening 600, in fact, below it not that long ago. They were 598 just about a week and change ago. So, yeah. They have rallied since and coming back off it a little bit right now. Number 8, Meta, 520 on the tape. Number 7, SMCI sneaking in there. Don't see them in the top 10 too often. Up about $4 today, a little over 10%, trading a little bit north of $42. Again, It's got chips. It's going up. Number 7, SMCI, 537 on the tape. Number 6, Micron. I mean, if you want a poster child for the madness of this AI chip, call it what you will, boom out there, the recent price action in Micron, it needs to be studied. There will be case studies on this. We were talking not too long ago on the Hot Options Report list, I think earlier this week, late last week, when the stock was below $700. People were loading up on the pars, aka the 1,000 calls then. And lo and behold, where are we right now? 936.88, up another $8.50. That's after massive rallies, including a 100+ handle rally one day out there. So Micron, I mean, you can't even call this frothy at this point. This is beyond the vapor stage. This is a heated plasma. This is something else entirely. Number 6, Micron, 586 on the tape. You know what? People have been active in the pars again. At this rate, they could hit the par strike by tomorrow's close. I mean, this is an absolutely wild, untamed beast. That'd be another great one to do a poll on. Alas, not possible. Number 6, Micron, 586. Number 5, the one we are legally obligated to disclose that Uncle Mike owns 35% of. This is Palantir, 140 and a quarter, up 7 3/4, or nearly 6%. I'm not sure what's driving them outside of more Uncle Mike buyers and sellers. They've been on a bit of a rough run of late. They sold off to right about 132. That was yesterday, actually. So, yeah, they've had a little bit of a run, getting a little bit of a turnaround today, as the rest of the market apparently is as well. Number 5, 601 on the tape. Number 4, Ondas. They were out of our top 10 for a while. Now they're back in and making up for lost time. 13 and a quarter, up $2.50, or 23% today. So Ondas just, again, on the rampage. Number 4, 779 on the tape. I will go look at the hot options out there, but you know it's just crazy out of the money calls for days, so no point. Number 3, Microsoft, looking a little bit green today as well. This is another one that's had a hard time catching and maintaining a bid, maintaining levels above the par strike, in this case the 400 level, but getting a nice little pop today. A 425.83 is where it's trading right now, up $13.16, or a little over 3%. Good for number 3, 934,000 contracts. Number 2 and number 1, you know what they are. That might be changing, though, if SpaceX comes along. Can Musk trump Musk on the options volume charts? I guess we'll find out. Number 2, it's Tesla, 1.27 million, 441.87, up $1.50. Like Uncle Mike, I do miss the days of the Tesla catastrophe puts. Those got a lot of traction. We were talking about those. Everyone picked those up and started running with those. The 10 puts, the par puts, but they were mostly the 10s. Absolutely wild times. A different time in Tesla, listeners. Number 2, 1.27 million. If you remember those times, you are an OG listener. We appreciate you out there. And number 1, you know what it is, NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been kind of fascinating to watch. All these other names, you know, the Microns, the AMDs of the world, just printing upside. And NVIDIA retreating pretty aggressively off its all-time high of 236.54. In fact, it's back down to its previous all-time high of about a month and change ago, which is right around the 212 level, 213.5, getting a little bit back today. But a light day as well, 1.7 million. So seeing NVIDIA kind of blow through that level, then blow through new levels and blow through new levels, and then come right back down to the level it pretty much had topped out on for a while. Kind of interesting to see. Maybe just a bit of a pause in the meteoric rise that is NVIDIA. As we go on out to the earnings front, it has still been a hot day. I half expected Snowflake to pop into the top 10 today, but I think they were actually number 14. So I was surprised because I said it before on the earnings rundown a week ago. I said, Snowflake, it's hot or it's cold. People don't care, or they care a lot. And right now they're in the care a lot phase. It's up $68 or nearly 40% right now, trading 243 and a quarter. So Snowflake is almost a binary option at this point, and they are delivering, but for whatever reason they couldn't crack the top 10 today. Let's just see really quickly how much flow going up in our old pal Snow. 303,000 contracts. So that's a really impressive day, especially when they're averaging 50,000 contracts a day. So you're talking 6x, but as we said, it's a banger out there. Cost you $450 and above to break into the top 10. So no Snowflake for you today. We've got Best Buy popping off today, as well as Dell and Costco. I was just there yesterday. Costco, the new strudel, apple strudel, delicious. And a lot of stuff popping off. So if you want to see really quickly, by the way, what were they pricing in Snowflake? Oh, 12, nearly 13%. So that's still pretty lofty. But they blew the doors off that, 3x that in terms of just absolutely wild stuff. 36%. Best Buy, they were actually today before the bell. So they were 64.5 going into their announcement. Looks like they put out actually a decent number. So, you know, the rumors of their demise greatly exaggerated. They're up $11.5 right now, or 18%. They were pricing in 7.2%. So they more than 2x'd their straddle out there as well. So, wow, Best Buy, you're reporting some hot numbers. That's interesting. Let's go out. Salesforce has been having some issues. They were 27th after the bell yesterday. They went into their announcement 177.5. You know, we're hearing this on again, off again. Software is dead. Software is hot. Software is dead again. Well, let's see. They were pricing in 8.2%. They actually had a nothing burger. They're up now. They were down earlier. They sold off to around 173.5. So if you take the totality of the post-earnings move, they actually pretty much met or maybe slightly exceeded their earnings straddle. But right now, the net move is only about 1%. So if you sat on your hands a little bit, you maybe missed out on a big move if you were long some juice out there. If you sold them, you were sweating, but now you're looking pretty good. So wild stuff. You want to check out all that data for yourselves. You know where to go, theoptionsinsider.com. Click on the Options News and Articles tab to begin your fun, free journey through the world of options data. Speaking of options data, it's the Thursday show, so you know what we have to do, listeners. It is time to unleash the Flowmaster. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, to the Flowmaster we go. And you know what? I was a nice guy. I gave you your taste of Snowflake because I thought that was all you're going to get today. But no, the Flowmaster rudely drags me back to Snowflake. So, you know what? I misspoke, Mr. Flowmaster. We are going to talk about a little bit more Snowflake. If you're wondering really quickly, listeners, you know, this last leg up, today's move, pretty much erases what had been kind of a garbage year, quite frankly. They were 204 a year ago. They're trading a little bit shy of 243 right now. So obviously they're up size right now, 18.75%. But just about a month ago or so, they were trading 121. They've literally doubled from 121 to about 242 over the past month and a half, almost 2 months out here. So wild stuff, including an aggressive run just this week. You know, on the 26th, they were trading 177, and that still put them down about almost 30 handles on the year. So they were still in the red as of just Tuesday. So a wild week out here in Snowflake. Mr. Flowmaster, what'd you spot, sir?
Well, I just wanted to kind of point out, you know, we talk about earnings gaps, and you know, I know that that you post the expected earnings moves that Orats is cranks out, which is great. I looked at the EGAP for Snowflake yesterday in Trade Alert, which, as you did mention, that our platform is going to be sunset in October. We still have LiveVol and Silex, but Trade Alert itself, the platform that's been around for 21 years, is going to go away. But the straddle in Snowflake yesterday, there was the 175 strike expiring tomorrow, because that was the at the money shortest term straddle, was about 14%, so it was $25. And you know, it's the fact that we see it up $67 today, so you know, more than well over double the move. That's obviously wasn't priced in. And then I went and dug into what was the kind of the biggest open interest change coming into earnings, and it's the tomorrow 220 calls. So I can actually see those being bought yesterday. About 4,300 of them opened. They traded for $1.40 yesterday. They're trading for $22 today. So you know, talk about kind of the asymmetrical payoff of an option that an option can exhibit. It's a good example of one. But what's also kind of interesting is that a lot of it yesterday actually looked like it was a little vertical spread. So in fact, it looks to me like somebody was a buyer of the um, possibly the 210, 220, 230 call fly for 50 cents. That's what I see trading maybe 1,000 times all in. So we're way through the upper strike on that, so it might be worthless for them. But I don't know if we get a little bit of a slide back towards 220, that could be a huge winner.
It's a rough thing to do a symmetrical fly in a name like Snow. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it broken wing or something, because the chances if you start running to blowing through all those strikes are pretty high, as we saw out there today. Snowflake, as I alluded to earlier, very much a binary name. It's hot or it's not, and right now it is super hot. And in Flowmaster, you get a point here for triggering the old nostalgia bone. I have to admit, I have not thought of the ticker symbol SHIELD since the old Sears days. We all know Sears, I always thought it was kind of a vaguely aggressive ticker for Sears, aka SHIELD. It was Sears Holdings at the time, listeners. But now, of course, Sears has gone the way of the dodo, and that ticker consumed by what else? A defense ETF, probably more appropriate, given the tickers. Symbol, of course, SHIELD, SHLD. This is now the Global X Defense Tech ETF. And if you're saying to yourself, man, probably a banger year for this SHIELD, given everything that's gone on the first half of the year, you might actually be surprised by the performance of this thing. It was close to $60, a little bit lower than that a year ago. It's 67 and 70 right now, so it's up over $10, about $11 on the year, which is obviously good, but it had some surprising movements in this thing. In fact, it actually topped out for the year at $78.50 in mid-January. So not when you might expect, not when the entire world was clamoring for defense and drone names and everything else just a month and change later with the onset of the Iran conflict. In fact, when the conflict was really at its heat back in late March, it sold off to $68.30. So it sold off $10 at the time when everyone was clamoring for defense names. They tried to rally it again in April up after the ceasefire, which again, you think it would be inversely correlated to that, up to about $75 again. And then since then, it has pretty much taken it on the chin yet again, selling off to, this was about a little over a week ago. It hit 62 1/3. So since then, over the past week, it's had a nice pop up over $5 to 67.70 right now. And that move is pretty much single-handedly saving the year for this name. So if you loaded up on this Global X defense name a year ago thinking, here we go, baby, everyone wants drones and everything else, I'm in the right spot, you actually should have gotten out of this thing back in January. It's been a kind of rough sledding ever since. That said, speaking of rough sledding, it sounds like you spotted some weird action out here in SHIELD, Mr. Flowmaster. What did you find, sir?
Well, yeah, it is an interesting one. I was just looking at didn't the ticker for Sears used to be just the letter S before it went bankrupt the first time?
It was SHIELD. It was SHIELD at one point.
I think if you go back before that, it was S. But
maybe before that. I know when they had all the issues later on, it was definitely SHIELD.
Yeah, I remember that. When you were just a child, Mark, it was S.
I don't recall those days, sir. That's way before my time.
Yeah, and we use chalkboards and stuff.
You're one of those guys used to call AT&T phone or telephone too, aren't you?
Telephone. Oh, yeah. Definitely. I still call AT&T telephone. So it's I don't know why. I mean, it hasn't kicked butt this year. I mean, the biggest holdings are Lockheed and General Dynamics and Raytheon. Maybe those defense names are a little too traditional. I don't know if it has names like Ondas, the drone name. I don't know if those are in it. They're not in the top 3. This one is not actually flow related. This is, I've mentioned in some of my presentations that even though there's about options available on almost 2,000 ETFs, the top 10 basically do about 80% of the flow. And so the bottom, couple thousand can be pretty thin. And this is one that averages it averages 266 out of all of those 2,000 ETFs. It's not active, but one of the things that I noticed on it, which was weird, because this is an odd block, is that the open interest this morning in a single contract, the March 45 puts, was down 1.55 million contracts. And I said, wow, that's a big number. We don't see numbers like that. And there's no trading activity to show that it actually is real. But that is in the OCC disseminated open interest data. And so my guess is I do see kind of like a 10 lot of these trading a couple days ago. My guess is somehow the 10 lot cleared as a 1.6 million contract trade. And they fixed it today. But it is, like we talk about order flow and option data all day long. It's all I stare at, and I love it. But there are odd things that happen, and sometimes trying to explain, well, how could the open interest change without activity and without an exercise or something kind of impacting it? This is an example. There was some sort of a mistake. It didn't print to the tape. It did impact the clearing. Somehow a giant trade existed, or a giant position existed for a night. And I'm sure it was probably known as an error immediately after it all cleared, but it took a whole day to kind of work out of the system. So it's a weird one, and it doesn't actually mean anything. It's kind of interesting to look at the product, and maybe there's some trade to do based on kind of how this thing is performed during a war. I would imagine once the war's over, it may kind of pull back a chunk, but interesting one, and just a big weird open interest chain.
It's a weird one, listeners, when it flummoxes the Flowmaster. That is a weird, you don't see OI jump like that off a 10 lot very often out there. By the way, if you're wondering the sordid history of Sears tickers, it was S in the primordial ooze days, and it changed in 2005 post-merger with Kroger. So since 2005 until it went the way of the dodo in, I believe, 2018, it was Shield. So most active options traders, certainly in the lifespan of the Options Insider, which launched in 2007, it was Shield. Before the old time crew, you could call it S if it makes you feel better out there, listeners. All right, let's see. We've got one more here on the docket, listeners. If you're saying, weird OI anomalies and funky defense sector names, what else you got for us out there today? How about we take you home with the hot world of isotopes, in particular ASP Isotopes Inc., ticker symbol ASPI, ASPI. The isotopes, I'm not sure what type of isotopes we're talking about here, but the isotopes are hot, listeners, popping $1.05 or nearly 16%, trading $7.72. So folks are loving the isotopes. Before you go running in, the stock with today's move is now pretty much unched, actually still slightly red, off about 6 cents on the year. So isotopes been a bit of a rough run. They actually topped out very briefly in October of last year, $14.50. So since then, as of right now, they're pretty much cut in half. And in the nadir of early April, looks like right around April 1st, so April Fool's Day, they actually sold off below $4, $3.92. So it's been a nice couple of months out here in isotopes, but it's been a rough year out here. Again, I don't know exactly what type of isotopes we're talking about here, but either way, kind of a wild year. Mr. Flowmaster, do we have a wild day on our hands in everyone's new favorite ASP isotopes, sir?
Well, I mean, we definitely have a very, very active day for the call volume. So 39,000 calls have traded. This is compared to average daily volume of about 7,000. Only 2,400 puts have traded. So, and that's heavier than normal as well, but that's only 2 times normal. So it's a total volume is up basically 5 times the full day, and it's very, very heavily weighted to the calls. And then when I went and looked at the actual prints, it's pretty interesting. As you said, it's up, it's up a chunk today, 16% today. There was a bunch of call buying, a flurry, basically the kind of around noon, basically between like noon and 1. The biggest chunk was looks like the July 7-11 call spread traded 6,000 times. Looks like a buyer there. And then we also see buyers of the 9 calls in June, and handful of other strikes. The biggest piece though being that 7-Eleven, trade, and it's a July to January, so it could be a roll of the sevens. It is probably most likely a roll of the July 7s into the Jan 11s. But it is a bullish, bullish roll. I assume they probably made a little money in those July 7s, given today's. Let's see when they got into those. Looks like they got into those on March 6th, back when the stock was 555. So that's actually a pretty nice trade, and that was an outright trade. They paid $1.15 for them, and they should be getting out okay today on those. So I don't know much about isotopes myself, but it does sound pretty scientific, and it certainly got the interest of this trade. It looks like they rolled those. They got out of them for like $1.12. So they kind of scratched the they made kind of clawed back most of their money. Didn't go high enough, but they certainly like this long position now dated all the way out till sorry, I was wrong. $1.72. They did make money on those July calls, and now they have a big January position on that we will keep an eye on.
Yeah, interesting stuff. If you're wondering, listeners, this name's hitting all the buzzwords. They make isotopes for cancer imaging, but also quantum computing and new drug development, and also, just for fun, nuclear power, nuclear fuel. So they're hitting all the buzzwords these days. So you'd think this stock would have been on a rocket ship to the moon, but maybe not. I like the approach of that vertical if you are going to play it. Kind of an interesting one. Are you down for this name, listeners? Hit us up, let us know. As we let you know what we're keeping an eye on, it is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block. And as we come into this final segment of the show, I mentioned the Dow was looking a little weak. It might tilt red, and it has done so ever so slightly, off a whopping 0.01%. So I guess the Dow didn't get the memo that it is a green only day out there. S&P continuing to look strong, up 0.6%. The NASDAQ up nearly 1% now, 0.95%. And VIX cash still flirting around that 1585 level, pretty much unched from where it was at the start of the show. But Uncle Mike, you need to tell your cabal folks to start buying in the Dow as well. You can't just be all S&P all the time. You got to show some love to the Dow as well. So that's on you, sir. And then what else is catching your eye, and what else are you keeping an eye on, I should say, as we're winding down the show, sir?
Hey, my cabal is S&P specialists. We only buy the S&P. So, I mean, it's not they're union, so I can't really negotiate.
A union cabal. You don't see that too often.
Yeah, they're a union cabal. So, I mean, they got sometimes I think they have some corrupt union leaders, and but I don't want to end up in I don't want to have an accident that wasn't really an accident. So I got to kind of be nice to
Usually them, shadowy secret entities do not unionize, but apparently not in your cabal, sir.
It's a very unique situation. I will agree with you on that.
All right, what are you keeping an eye on, sir, aside from being stabbed in the back by your cabal at any moment?
Well, I want to. We're going like just watching silver right now over the course of the last week or so, or week and a half, I should say. We've been kind of flat, just kind of flirting with that 70 level in SLV. Curious to see if we can make a move above that, because with silver being the most exciting thing since sliced bread the last few months of 2025, and for probably the first month of 2026, by comparison, it's just been kind of channeling and boring again. So 70 appears to be a key number in there, and so definitely going to be keeping an eye on that. Of course, continuing to watch to see if we can make new all-time highs. We're 1 point away from them again right now, so watching that. And then the unsung, I don't know, unsung hero, but the my pick to click for where we're going to be having a lot of content, at least later in the year, if and when the Iran thing calms down, will be interest rates. So continuing to watch to see if we get any surprise moves in the interest rate world.
Getting into that hot rates action, are we? I love this headline I'm looking here as we're wrapping up the show on Market Watch. Investor fatigue is setting in. Is it? I don't know. Uncle Mike, are your arms tired from all this buying? Doesn't seem like anyone's too fatigued to me. The bulls are out in force again. I don't know what they're seeing. But by the way, we are, just to be fun, just to give it the old college try, we are trying to make one more attempt at a question of the week for you folks. I know you miss them. I miss them too. They were fun. Blame Twitter. Don't blame us. All their money's going towards this upcoming SpaceX IPO. But speaking of SpaceX IPO, we said very simply, do you plan to trade SpaceX options after the IPO? Very simple. Right now, there is one vote. 100% of you want to do it. That's usually what happens with these new polls. They get one and then they just break. So we'll see if it keeps going or not, if we can get more votes. I encourage you to try it at options. Make your voice heard. Maybe we can get a whopping 2 votes this time before it breaks. We'll see. But right now, 100% of you want to play in SpaceX. Mr. Flowmaster, are you giddy about the impending SpaceX IPO? We're also keeping an eye on until your next appearance, sir.
Well, I'm definitely giddy about the IPO and the options activity that we should see around it. I'm still trying to decide how I feel about the company. I guess I feel I'm a little bit wary of the amount of capital.
How dare you, sir? How dare you say that a company that lost $5 billion last year could be valued at nearly $1 trillion? How dare you question that, sir?
Well, I did. I said something to somebody here about it, and they were like, "Well, listen, what else are you gonna, talk about having like a long-term play for the future? Like, yes, it may not work out, but there's not that many other places you can kind of put a big amount of capital into for this." This type of a future. So I don't know, but I do know I'm not allowed to participate in IPOs. So even if my broker has some to distribute, I'm not allowed. So options might be the only way I can do anything in the name. We will have to see. But I will be watching the macro picture for sure. I kind of feel like, this market is so calm, and we have VIX under 16 now. VIX is at 1574. Nothing's quite been solved, and I guess the market is pricing in the assumption that it's all going to work out. So I'm a little bit cautious on that. I'll tell you, the put call skew in even in SPX, which is a big hedging product, is also kind of at extremely flat levels, meaning that the demand for puts does not seem to be there. It focuses on the upside. And when we're looking at the market that's up 10.5% year to date, Russell's up 18% year to date. The Mag 10 index, our proprietary index is up 17% year to date. I think it's time to maybe, kind of either trim delta or put on a little protection, especially because right now it's just cheap in terms of, historical comps.
That is wild to me that there is no demand for puts. That just goes back to that headline is nonsense. What investor fatigue? They're buying with both hands. They're not even buying a put to throw in their back pocket when vol is low and the put skew is cheap. Wild stuff. That'd be another great question of the week if we could ask it. Do you plan on... Oh, there's 2 votes now. Maybe the polls are working again. We'll see. We're up to a whopping 2 votes. Let's see if it breaks now. We shall see. Get out there, make your voice heard, listeners. Let's see if we can get the old question of the week working again, because that was fun. I'm kind of missing it here on the show. But unfortunately, that music means we are done with the show. Not done on the network, though. I'll be back in a little bit talking all things futures options. Who's going to join me? I guess you got to tune in to find out. Could be somebody cool. We shall see. And then before we go, let's go around the horn. Mr. Flowmaster, sir, if folks want more Cboe goodness, maybe they want to construct their own Tesla catastrophe put scan, where should they go? What should they do, sir?
Just head over to Cboe.com/RMA. That's our risk and market analytics. Includes our platforms and our Cboe Data Shop offering. And you can always go to Cboe.com and see what we have currently going on, what new products, and what content we're putting out in terms of helping people understand the existing product.
I got an idea for another newsletter that'll never see the light of day, sir. The OI Anomaly newsletter. When you see weirdo OI Anomaly, it won't be that frequent of a newsletter, a couple of times a year, but it would be kind of fun. 10-lot trades, and now the OI changes by over 1 million. That might be interesting fodder for a newsletter. In the meantime, you know where to go, listeners. Cboe.com to kick the tires and light the fires, and /RMA if you want to see what the Flowmaster and the crew are up to. And Uncle Mike, where should they go if they want to see what you are up to, sir?
Head to stcharleswealth.com if you are looking to book an appointment with a financial advisor who likes the option product. There's not many of us out there.
There are not many indeed. Check them out, stcharleswealth.com, to kick the tires and light the fires. Tell them I sent you. You get a free Skippy Zero. Can't beat that deal. I just heard from the producers. We have none other than Dan the Man Gramza himself joining us for TWIFO. So that should be a banger. If you're hanging out in the pro, just hang out. You know you want to be here for that. And then back again after the closing bell. If you like all this data crunching, the Hot Options Report is your huckleberry. We cover all that at the end of every day. Back again tomorrow, talking all things vol on Volatility Views. Should be a hot one. A lot of vol out there right now. And then, of course, back again on Monday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.